of another movie. I haven't done an underrated movie review in a while. I did one at the beginning of this year, and now I'm back again this summer to do another review, another underrated movie review. I got this movie on DVD for my birthday, which was not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, at the end of June. And I've been wanting to do a review of it. I've watched it many times prior to getting it, and I watched it once since I've had it. About 5 or 6 times I've seen it. I did a review about how I really didn't care for remakes. Mostly I focused on horror film remakes some years ago. This is a different type of review. This is actually a review for a remake that I find to be a very good one. I am going to do a review for Conan the Barbarian, the 2011 remake, which came out in 2011. And there's kind of a glare here, but I'm going to try to get a good shot of it without the glare. So there it is. Conan the Barbarian, the remake. I want to talk about remakes briefly first. Most remakes are crap. There's a few good ones. Based on what I've seen, and this is just my personal opinion as an amateur filmmaker, because I'm still an amateur filmmaker, which I've got back into filmmaking recently, which I'm very happy and satisfied with. But I'm going to say this is, I've seen some bad remakes, I've seen some good ones. There's very few good ones. Good ones are few and far between. I've seen, and these are some that I own that I really like. I like the 1983 Scarface. I like the 1988 Blob remake. I like John Carpenter's remake of The Thing. And I like the 1990 remake of Night of the Living Dead, which was remade by Tom Savini. Well, the Conan the Barbarian remake was remade by Marcus Nispel. He was the same guy that directed the Friday the 13th remake, which I really thought that kind of sucked. It had, the portrayal of Jason in that was good, and the death scenes were good, but other than that, the movie wasn't really that impressive. But this was really impressive. This came out 2 years after he did that remake. He's kind of a director that he's known for doing remakes, Marcus Nispel. He's a Swedish dude. It's come to America. So it has kind of that Swedish flavor to it. It's an American film done by a Swedish director. But this remake came out in 2011, and the tagline for it was "Born on the Battlefield." It stars Jason Momoa as Conan. Here's a picture of him on the cover. And as Conan's father is Ron Perlman, and as the villains is Stephen Lang and Rose McGowan. Now, Rose McGowan usually plays the good girl or the girl next door. And this was quite a transition for Rose McGowan. I thought she did fucking amazing as a villain. Like, I didn't know if she could play a villain, but oh boy does she play a real mean bitch in this. But she looks fucking sexy. I've always been a fan of Rose McGowan, and she is kind of a pretty well-known contemporary scream queen. This came out in 2011. And follows the Robert E. Howard stories to a T. This actually follows Robert E. Howard a little better than the original Conan the Barbarian. And I'll say this is the first two Conans, Conan the Barbarian and the original Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyer, are together on a double disc set, which I have and you can buy, or you can get them individually. This actually has both films on a double disc or dual disc, and the first movie came out in 1982. The second movie came out in 1984. They were both big blockbusters for the year and the time that they came out. Summer movies. They both came out during the summer. This one was promised to be that, but it didn't. It flopped. And once it came to video, it did really well. That would be DVD and HD DVD and Blu-ray, digital download as well, and it did really well after it was released. After it left theaters and re-released, I guess, if you want to put it that way. But the runtime is an hour and 52 minutes, and this is the plot. As a quest begins as a personal vendetta for the fierce Conan, the Cimmerian warrior, soon turns into an epic battle against hulking rivals, horrific monsters, and impossible odds. As Conan realizes he is the only hope for saving the great nations of Hyboria from encountering a reign of supernatural evil. Thelma Adams, a woman from US Weekly, says it's packed with thrills, which I can definitely say that. And this is the special edition DVD, which I'm glad they made. They did make a special edition, which has some tremendously great bonus features. And just for the fans, and that, if you're a really big fan of this movie like I am, and you're a really big fan of Conan, I own probably 4 really good Conan comics. I hope to own some maybe original stories by Robert E. Howard, graphic novels. I own all the movies on DVD, but I have to say that the Conan Legacy documentary that's on here, which is a retrospective about Conan, and then Robert E. Howard, the man who would be Conan, the documentary about Robert E. Howard's life, that one's a really good one. His life was a tough and hard life, and he made this amazing fictional character named Conan that to me is a personal hero. Talk about Conan real quick, and then I'll jump back into talking about this movie. Conan for me is a character that fights adversity and has a lot of personal struggles. He is the embodiment of the human struggle, which is kind of like that with Star Trek in a way too. A great action-adventure fantasy with monsters and blood and gore and beautiful women, which I can't complain about any of those. Being that I'm single and I really don't have any luck with women, so Conan in a way is a great fantasy. He's kind of like James Bond, but he's more violent and more barbaric than James Bond, of course, obviously. The thing is, with the character Conan, you never really find out if he has a last name or not. You just know that they call him Conan, or the Cimmerian warrior, or the Cimmerian. He has many names: Conan the Cimmerian, Conan the Destroyer, Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Conqueror, Conan the Thief, Conan the Avenged. You know, there's many different subsequent names that they're like pseudonyms that Conan uses. But this was released by Lionsgate Films with Paradox Films as well, on Millennium Films. So these small independent studios, Millennium Films and Paradox Films, in association with Lionsgate Films. Lionsgate Films was the big releaser of this movie. They helped release Conan the Barbarian. And what I can say about it is it has a really great storyline. It follows the story of Conan born on the battlefield, which was the very first Conan story written by Robert E. Howard. This one follows it a little bit more closely. None of the Conan movies by any means are bad. Matter of fact, I think Conan the Destroyer is a little bit underrated, and this one's really underrated. I must admit, towards the beginning, some of the acting, there is a little bit of bad acting. There's some actors that they overact a little bit. The pacing in the movie is really good. Really great pacing. But once the movie picks up in that, the acting progressively gets better from some of the actors, and they do a really marvelous job. I get the impression that some of the people that acted in this movie had no acting experience before. So it might have been the first movie that they did with a few people. Jason Momoa and Ron Perlman are amazing. They do a fucking amazing job. Stephen Lang and Rose McGowan, yet again, amazing as the villains. There's also a lady named Rachel Nichols. She's actually naturally a blonde, but she dyes her hair brunette for this movie. She plays Tamra, Conan's, one of his first love interests. And she does a good job too. She was a bit of a reoccurring character in some of the Robert E. Howard stories, the first couple of stories. This movie was just a really great movie and really well done for a remake. There's very few remakes I can say that I've been impressed with in current time. And nowadays in the new millennium is more commonplace to remake old movies. People like to relive these movies because they're nostalgic. Well, this does not follow the original Conan the Barbarian at all. I mean, it works well as a standalone film for that matter. You could have just called it, they could have just called it Conan, and that would have been simple. Or they could have called it Conan Born on the Battlefield, which is the tagline for the movie right down here. But it really is a really great movie. It really very is entertaining. Great action sequences, great stunts, great monsters. It's got a tentacle monster. We don't really get a good look at it. I get the impression it's just a tentacle monster. It's like tentacles attached to the ground or something like that. And there's some sand monsters and a couple of other monsters. And there's great mutant creatures that Conan fights, like a mutant army. And it's a bigger budget Conan movie. It's independently produced. Probably the biggest budget Conan movie put out. Because the first Conan movie, Conan the Barbarian, that was big budget. It was independently produced. The second one was low budget and independently produced. This one was big budget and independently produced. The one prior to this, Conan the Destroyer, which came out in 1984, it had a lower budget than this. It was actually the most low budget Conan movie. So out of the three, the biggest budget one is this one, and then it would be the original. And then it would be Conan the Destroyer based on the budget, which was the biggest budget to the lowest budget. They utilized the budget really well, and like I said, each one of these Conan movies, out of the three of them, they all work well as standalone movies as far as that goes. You know, you could connect them to each other if you want to in ways, which I kind of do, because I am a big Conan fan, excuse me. And this DVD was released later in the year of 2011. I was lucky enough to find a used version of it, which it seems like this one's a little bit harder to find out of the three for some reason, which is kind of funny. But Conan the Barbarian, the 2011 remake, really is a good remake, and definitely check it out. I would recommend renting it or downloading it and seeing it if you are a big Conan fan and you're into these sword and sorcery epics or sword and sorcery movies. Aside from the original Conan, this is my second favorite, and then it would be Conan the Destroyer. So, favorite to least favorite. I'm not going to say I don't like these. I like all the Conan movies. It would be the original Conan the Barbarian, the Conan the Barbarian remake, and then Conan the Destroyer, in that order from favorite to least favorite. But I do like all of them. They are really good. I don't know really what I can say is the acting is top notch. I don't have anything really bad to say about this movie. I don't know why some people hate it. There's not really justification behind it. It's kind of like Halloween 3 Season of the Witches. They don't like it because Arnold doesn't play Conan. They were going to try something new. Is they wanted to do a bunch of Conan movies with Jason Momoa, and that didn't happen. This movie failed. It didn't do well, so they want to do another Conan movie with Arnold called Legend of Conan. It's about an older Conan. I'm excited. I hope that it will be good. I hope that it won't suck, because until now, all the Conan movies based off of the novelization by Robert E. Howard and the Marvel comic books and the Dark Horse comics has all been very good. So I hope they do it justice, and I hope they are returning to the origins of the character, and I hope we get another good Conan movie, because for us Conan fans, because I personally am a big fan of Conan, there's only been 3 movies. I'd like to see another one, then there would be 4. And it would be, the original films would be a trilogy, and then you have a remake, which is really cool. So that's my review. I hope you liked it. Thank you, and have a good day.